3. Okay, cool. We're all here this week. Hot damn. Welcome to Wrestling with Egos. We're so glad to have you guys back. All three of us are amongst the living and the breathing, especially one gentleman that was wearing a hat who survived 7 heart attacks on Thursday evening from watching his beloved Cleveland Browns play football. Good to have you back with us, buddy. Again, welcome to Wrestling with Egos. I'm Patrick, joined as always by Brian and RJ, two of my best friends in the entire world, and we're here with you guys for the next little bit talking wrestling. Got a whole lot to talk about. We got some really poignant stuff that's happened over the last week, including the announcement today of both blocks for the G1. It is G1 time, which we are hella excited about that. But before we get started, I want to kind of I'm gonna pull a little bit of living color here. I want to talk right down to earth in a language that everyone here can easily understand. A little bit of real talk for you guys. In case you haven't been following, September is National Suicide Prevention Month. It's important to us here on Wrestling with Egos because all three of us know people personally that deal with mental illness. I make no bones about it. I am one of those people. My depression sometimes is a butthole. But hey, Walt Disney said it best. Keep moving forward. But one thing we definitely wanted to stress to you guys, if you or anybody struggles with this bullcrap, because that's what it is, boys and girls, it's bullcrap. It sucks that anybody has to deal with it, but we soldier through. If anybody is dealing with this, seek help. There are a lot of different places to go. One of the best places I found is the National Association for Mental Illness. It's NAMI.org. Also, if you feel like you're having thoughts where you might not want to live to see tomorrow, phone number is going to be at the bottom of the screen right here, 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-TALK. That is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. We usually don't get really that serious here on Wrestling with Egos, but this is some serious shit. Because this is something that I know all three of us believe in quite strongly. I know, and this is something I'm kind of springing on the guys. Starting to slowly work on developing a nonprofit as well. Dealing with this, dealing with suicide prevention, more of just a support system than anything else. I once had when I was working for the newspaper I worked for last year, I interviewed a lady that runs a community charity. And a big phrase that she used was, this isn't about giving a hand out. It's about giving a hand up. Always about helping people, getting them out of the situation they're in. And that's kind of been really heavy on my heart lately is, okay, people that deal with this bullcrap, they need a hand up. They need somebody reaching into that hole that they've dug for themselves and, pulled out. And I can honestly say that these two cats that are on this screen with me have done that for me in the past. So, kind of cool also to be talking about this with these two guys here because, you have, in life, you have many different circles of relationships, and that inner circle is, that inner circle, wrestling reference, is also your ride or dies. And these two cats and their wives are in that with me. Those, I ride or die with these four, and life would not be the same or as good as it is without them.
Likewise, I agree.
And if I could interject too, I dare say that the unprecedented events of this year as difficult and as arduous as it's been for everyone, and everybody is going through it, their own particular brand of struggle as it relates to the pandemic and work issues and school issues. And it's just, it amplifies the stress level up to a level that you might not be used to dealing with, because everybody's used to dealing with stress to a certain point, and sometimes it gets tricky.
Yeah.
And the biggest point I can use to echo what Patrick has said, don't take for granted that your family and friends are okay. Just check up on them. Even if you personally aren't going through this, just pick up the phone, shoot a text, how you doing? It goes a long way, because it lets that person know that somebody is taking an interest in them and how they're doing and things like that. So I will echo all of those sentiments.
I don't know who it is out there that needs to hear this, but it is never an embarrassing thing to talk about. If you are the person that is going through it, and I have, in the very recent present, been going through a bunch of crap mentally, and I don't always want to step forward and talk about it, but it's not ever an embarrassing thing to say, hey, I need help. I need somebody to talk to. I saw a thing the other day on Twitter that asked the question, if your suicide attempt had been successful, how many years ago would you have died? And the answer for me is 19 years ago and 12 years ago. And that's not a super easy thing to talk about. And I know on the show and in my real life, I spend some time talking about how good I am at certain things and putting myself over, but that's not always the way that I really feel inside. And that's not ever an embarrassing thing to say out loud. So
no.
Talk about it if you need to talk about it.
Right. And also being the person on the other end of that conversation where, I know someone that's dealing with stuff. If you know someone is dealing with stuff and they're really not talking about it, guess what? Make them, pull it out of them. Isn't that right, RJ?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
I'm not trying to put myself over on this one, but yeah, I've kind of been hounding the shit out of him over the last week. Like, over the top happy messages like, what's up, buddy? With a whole
And it has worked wonders, I'll tell you.
Nice. But yeah, and also, and another reason I want to say this, as you guys know, I've been trying desperately to watch my mouth on this show. I have people at church that watch this show now. And I've been doing a really good job, at least I think, of curtailing the swearing. Here comes an F-bomb. In 3, 2, 1, fuck you, Skip Bayless.
Yes! Oh my God, yes! I cannot second that enough. Garbage. He is a garbage person. And then to double down on what he said, garbage. For those, I'm sure there's people that don't know what happened. An NFL player recently came out, Dak Prescott, about his depression and suicidal thoughts when his brother committed suicide, and Skip Bayless on national television called him weak.
Yeah.
And that's trash.
Yes. Dude, no joke. And this is y'all, this is the kind of garbage human being Skip Bayless is. I tweeted him, by the way, at Rank Mode On, tweeted him. I can't remember exactly what I said, but it was like, this is kind of a garbage take. You're a really crappy human being. I'm going to pray for you. He blocked me.
Yeah, that's Skip Bayless.
I got blocked by Skip Bayless. That is 2 people with check marks that have blocked me on Twitter.
I only have one, and I wish he hadn't blocked
me. Who is it that blocked you?
Dustin Rhodes.
Oh.
It was years ago when I was a complete asshole child of an immature adult. And I don't even know what I said, but I said he also, a couple years before he blocked me, actually on Twitter had a conversation with me and kept me from committing suicide. And then a couple years after that, I don't know what I said on Twitter, but he blocked me, and I wish that he hadn't. So if Dustin Rhodes ever sees this, at RJ, man, please unblock me.
We are going to reach out to Dustin Rhodes, and we're going to make this happen. For the record, the other person that blocked me is Velvet Sky.
Oh, wow.
What does it say about your boy that I've never been blocked by anybody?
You're the nicest guy on this show.
I don't know that either one of us are surprised by that.
No, I would be more shocked if you had been blocked by anybody famous on Twitter. I would
Here's how at B Kriego 15 tweets. He goes, "Hi at The Rock, how you doing?"
Hashtag Go Cubs.
Yeah, hashtag Go Cubs Go. Okay, bye.
Pretty much. Guys, let's go ahead and get into the show. Obviously, a crap ton of talked about. Thanks for going down that serious moment with us. We definitely appreciate it. Can we say, we always talk about wrestling, or like WrestleMania being wrestling Christmas.
Well, we may have to reschedule that, because I was not aware when the AEW apologist over there shared it with us earlier. But one of the things the pandemic unfortunately did was it postponed something that normally takes place, late June, early July, RJ, that G1 action.
Yeah, it's usually late July into early August, and
okay, that's right.
there was some fear and trepidation among New Japan loyalists that it wasn't going to happen this year. I was very terrified that it wasn't going to happen, and then they announced blocks, and I cried. I have no blocks. I cried. We have blocks for the G1. We have a start date. G1 starts tomorrow. So pumped.
Hallelujah.
For sure. There's a great week for your boy over here. Yesterday was an unbelievable day. I got to watch the Cleveland Browns win a football game, which is something that I like doing more than I like watching AEW.
Here's the thing, though. AEW happens more often than the Browns win.
Okay, let's stay on course here. We're talking about
considering what happened yesterday, I had to start the show with this Browns flag behind me. But there's another thing that happened yesterday, as well as the Browns winning. I got a package.
Though that merch, though.
Merch freak.
I got the hookup.
All of the AEW action figures.
5 of the 6. Brandy is impossible to find and is going for like $200 on the internet. But
really?
Yeah, hell yeah. Big shout out to Justin. I'm not gonna say your last name, but big shout out to Justin, fellow Pro Wrestling Tees VIP member, who found some action figures at his local Walmart and messaged some of the Pro Wrestling Tees VIPs and said, "Hey guys, who needs action figures? I'll sell them to you at cost," which is unbelievably nice of him. So your boy we just bought a new shelf today. I can't reach it. It's over there. Specifically for me to hang and put my action figures on. So the AEW Championship is going to be covered for this episode, and
perfectly understandable.
Yeah, that's rock solid, man.
And it's not lost on me that they're all up there symmetrical too, because you got one young buck. I think you got Matt going like this, and you got Nick going like that. So
you got the Bucks backwards. It looks like.
Well, no, they're leaning the right way, but here's the problem that I have is that I want to display them all together with the pops, but with the action figures you have Matt leaning this way and Nick leaning that way, but with the pops you have Nick leaning that way and Matt leaning this way, and then with the micro brawlers Matt's leaning this way and Nick's leaning this way, so it's all just, I have to figure out how my OCD is going to display these without going crazy.
Hashtag you're not.
Yeah.
Anyway, she
What's
won.
going to happen is there's going to be a Young Bucks room in the house. That's the only
Yeah.
way you're going to solve it, and everything else will be in another room.
We're close. We're getting there.
Rock and roll.
Yes. So I think that personally, I'm going to go ahead and say that A Block kicks the crap out of B Block this year. I think a lot of times they do a much better job of spreading the possible winners out amongst the two blocks. I think that it'll be a big upset if the winner of this tournament comes out of B Block. With that said, I will give a quick rundown of B Block first. We have Hiroshi Tanahashi, the ace of New Japan. They still call him that, but it's debatable whether he still is or not. Hiroshi Tanahashi, Juice Robinson, Hiroki Goto. He's the most boring wrestler on planet Earth. I can't stand him.
Ouch.
Toru Yano, who is hilarious. Yoshihashi, the double champion Tetsuya Naito. Sonata, Zack Sabre Jr., Kenta, and the newest member of Bullet Club, Evil, in B Block.
Before you do the A Block, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Is it a matter of personal preference that Evil, Kenta, and Yoshihashi write their names in all caps, or is that like a distinction, or what is that?
Sonata actually does too, and I just didn't put it in all caps on my list that I sent, but it's just the way that it's always written on all New Japan graphics.
Yeah,
There's some that just, because evil is like a word, so his there is no like Japanese characters. So with most, I know there's Japanese characters that mean the word evil, but what I'm saying is on the New Japan graphics, like for the majority of guys, we'll use Hiroshi Tanahashi for an example, since he's the first one I mentioned in B Block. There will be on their graphic, there will be Japanese characters that say Hiroshi Tanahashi in Japanese, and then under that in English, it will say Hiroshi Tanahashi.
Okay.
Actually, I guess in Japanese it would say Tanahashi Hiroshi, but
yes, that's true.
And then in English under that it'll say Hiroshi Tanahashi. But there's certain guys that it only uses the English character letters, and it's all in caps. And for this specific tournament, those people are Yoshihashi, Sonata, Kenta, and Evil.
Okay.
It's just they're always in all caps. That's why.
Since you guys have started exposing me to New Japan, that's something I've always wondered about. Like, okay, you talk about Kenta, and you always write Kenta when you talk about him, and I wondered why.
That's why.
Also, even in like Stardom, some of the women do that as well. Kana, who we now know as Asuka, did the same thing.
Yeah, it's I don't know that it's personal preference amongst the wrestlers, but I would imagine that it probably is.
I think I would probably say either that, or from like a Japanese perspective, it may just be like a stylistic thing.
Right. There's nobody in A Block that's all caps though.
No, I noticed that too.
Holy crap! Are there a lot of A-list guys on A Block?
No doubt. I'm sure that I just mentioned multiple names while running down B Block that have probably never been said on this show before. For A Block viewers of this show,
every one of these guys.
I don't know if Yoshihashi's ever been mentioned on this show before.
No, I'm talking about A Block. We've mentioned
A Block. Yeah. Every member of A Block has been mentioned on the show at least once, and there are, I would say, of the 10, I would say probably 7 of them are going to be recognizable names to anybody that views this show on a regular basis. With that said, let's run down A Block real quick. So we have Kota Ibushi, one half of the Golden Lovers with Kenny Omega. I will always say that forever and always. Jeff Cobb, who you apparently, from the reports that are coming out, used AEW to get a better contract out of New Japan.
Hey now.
Hey.
Which, I mean, it's your thing. Kazuchika Okada, Tomohiro Ishii, who, if I hadn't already done the falling asleep gimmick, I would do that again right now. Will Ospreay, Shingo Takagi, Minoru Suzuki, Tai Chi, Jay White, and Yujiro Takahashi. One of my BTE favorites from back in the day when BTE take place in Japan.
A Block is freaking loaded.
Loaded.
Hey, I have a question. Who is the guy? I can't remember his name. Who is the guy that slaps his ass?
Ryusuke Taguchi.
Why isn't he in G1?
Because he's the guy that slaps his ass all the time. I honestly can't tell you. I would probably put Taguchi in over Yoshihashi, or I just Goto, which is, I'm sure some Japanese people think is sacrilege. He's a phenomenal talent. He's got charisma out the
I'll
ass.
talk with our 2 subscribers from Japan, and I'll let you know what they think.
Yeah, he has charisma out the ass. That's amazing. Didn't you say something in pre-show? What the hell? Didn't you say in pre-show that Taguchi not being in G1 was the most Taguchi thing ever?
Yeah, it is. It is. Taguchi not being in the G1 is the most Taguchi thing ever. He's just, I've seen people on Twitter compare him to Santino Marella. I think that's a little too out there. He's a better in-ring performer than Santino was, but him being overlooked as a member of the G1 is so Taguchi. Absolutely. But it starts tomorrow. We're filming this on the 18th, so it starts on the 19th. There are obviously 5 matches with 10 members of each block. There are 5 matches each day that it happens. Like the first day happens tomorrow, so all the A block matches will happen tomorrow. You could call it a pre-show, like quote unquote pre-show. Normally it's a couple hours long. With COVID, you don't really ever know how anything's going to happen until it happens.
Right.
But normally the way this works is that members of B block who are going to be wrestling each other will in some way, shape, or form be thrown into 6 or 8 or 10 man tag team matches as kind of like a pre-show. They call them preview matches for the following day, and then after that, all of the A block matches will actually happen. The biggest one, we'll go like week by week as this show, as we film this show. I will go week by week and say some of the matches that I'm looking forward to that week, some matches that kicked butt the previous week. If the matches that I thought were going to be good lived up to what I thought they were going to be. The big match tomorrow, which I'm positive will be the main event, is the G1 final from last year. Kazuchika Okada and Kota Ibushi is going to be the main event that kicks off day 1. I 100% expected that to be a final day of A block match, and it is instead a first day of A block match. Sunday, the big match on Sunday for B block is Hiroshi Tanahashi against double champion Tetsuya Naito. On the 23rd, A block returns. We have a great match, should be a great match against Kota Ibushi and my favorite New Japan wrestler, Switchblade Jay White. And on the 24th, there aren't any matches I'm super excited about, but I did circle Naito and Zack Sabre Jr. I'm not a huge ZSJ guy. It's just not my style. I wasn't a Bret Hart guy when I was younger either. It's just not really what I'm into. but what Zack Sabre Jr. does with the ground wrestling, the chain wrestling, there's nobody in the world that does it better than him. And Tetsuya Naito, for my money, is one of the best wrestlers on planet Earth. So you put those two guys in the ring together, and even though I don't like Zack Sabre Jr.'s style, I'm still going to get excited to watch that match.
Yeah.
So we have some real good matches to look forward to in the G1 this coming week. And next week on the show, I will talk about if those matches lived up to the hype. I will give shine to any matches I have not circled, and we'll mention matches coming up the following week.
And if there's something you know about me, I've never been afraid to push all my chips into the center of the table. With the fractional knowledge that I have about New Japan Pro Wrestling, I am prepared. I am ready. I know who's winning it all.
Hit it.
I'm
You
very
guys are
curious
gonna love it.
to agree with you or not.
You're gonna love it because RJ, it's a guy you've talked about as ascending in the promotion. They obviously have a lot of trust in this man, and I think that trust is going to be paid off with a G1 tournament win this year. My pick for the whole thing is Switchblade Jay White.
We agree, buddy.
I just think it's time because I remember last year we debated whether it was time for a Gaijin to win the tournament again, or whether we were, because I thought with Kenta being the new, hot commodity back then, they might want to have a homegrown wrestler, win it. Which they wound up doing with Ibushi, sorry, winning the whole thing last year. But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but White Star has been on the rise over New Japan. He's been putting on banger matches and with everybody. There hasn't been a clunker.
Absolutely. And he was, before COVID, he was one of the, at Wrestle Kingdom this year in January, he was one of the 4 guys in the double gold dash with Ibushi, Naito, and Okada, which are so he's clearly a top guy. COVID hits, travel restrictions, he can't get to Japan. I feel like that leads New Japan to think that they need to do something to put Jay White's star back where it was before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no better way to do that than give him a G1 victory in a Wrestle Kingdom main event.
Well, we're all in agreement on that one. I was thinking the same thing, looking at like, okay, Jay White, this just looks like the opportunity to give Jay White that massive run. But who I've got him facing coming out of B Block might surprise you.
B Block was so hard for me.
It is for me too, and keep in mind, I did not really see this until we started talking about it. So right. I've been formulating my opinion literally on the fly, like I do so many other things on this show. To me, it's Jay White beating Juice Robinson.
I would not be surprised by that.
We have seen we have slowly since CJ Parker left NXT, we have slowly seen a constant, steady ascension of Juice Robinson.
I agree.
This is the next step.
I don't have Juice coming out of B Block. He is one of the people that I was considering as the person who's going to come out of B Block. Again, he's another person whose star is on the rise, who is phenomenal in the ring. I do have a Juice Robinson prediction that I'm going to throw out, that I will throw out before this whole thing starts. I do think that, as he is called in Japan, the flamboyant Juice Robinson, that's his whole name in New Japan, I do think that as big of a baby face as he is, pardon me, and as flamboyant Juice Robinson, I feel like we will see a very slow, very methodical, very calculated Juice Robinson heel turn throughout the G1, which could lead to him coming out of B Block. Again, with B Block, with Evil just having been double champion, he's a consideration. Sonata has been a guy who many people who follow New Japan are wondering, when is Sonata going to reach his potential? When is he going to get the push? When is it going to happen? I just don't know that it's going to happen this year. The original person that I had coming out of B Block was Kenta. But then I realized that if Jay White comes out of A Block and Kenta comes out of B Block, that's an all Bullet Club final. And I don't think they would do that. So I changed it to Puke Hiroshi Tanahashi. I don't dislike Tanahashi. That's not why I'm saying Puke. He's just not the guy that he used to be and that New Japan wants you to think he still is.
Tanahashi is Cena.
Right. He is absolutely Japanese Cena, 100%. I think John Cena is a fantastic in-ring performer personally. With that said, I think Hiroshi Tanahashi, at his peak in his prime, John Cena could not freaking touch him.
No.
They call him the Ace of New Japan for a freaking reason. It's because he was for a very long time. He is the man who, just like a lot of Americans say that John Cena grabbed WWE and pulled it out of the gutter when it could have fallen off the face of the earth when it lost all of its stars. Hiroshi Tanahashi did, in a very literal sense, the exact same thing for New Japan. They had filed for what we call bankruptcy in Japan. They were done. Their company was going under. And Hiroshi Tanahashi caught fire and became an icon in Japan and quite literally saved the company. Because of that, they still to this day push him to the moon, to the point where at the beginning of last year, he beat the best wrestler on planet Earth for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, that being Kenny Omega. And he won the G1 and then beat Kenny, and I thought it was ridiculous that 42, 43, 44, I don't remember how old he was, Tanahashi beat Kenny for the title at Wrestle Kingdom. Kenny was leaving, that's why he lost. It could have been somebody else, but they pushed Tanahashi to the moon all the time. They also use Tanahashi as the guy you need to beat if you want to be the guy, which is why I think that Jay White beating Tanahashi in the final of the G1 would be amazing. Like, for them. Why? I feel like them looking at that, seeing Jay White beating our greatest wrestler ever, is what I feel like that's what they're going to do. To them, it puts Jay White over more to the Japanese audience.
Yeah. So that's what we're going with, huh? We are all going with
the Switchblade.
I'd like to be right for once. So, I mean, that's why.
I hope you're right.
So,
like I said during the mentions of the A Block, he is my favorite wrestler in New Japan. He's probably my second favorite wrestler in all of professional wrestling. I am a huge, huge, huge Switchblade Jay White fan. I think he's.
And I'll say this too: White comes out of A Block, he'll have earned it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Of all the other studs that he's got, that he's going to have to climb over.
Hey, RJ, you and I can appreciate this reference more than anything else. This year, more than anything, A Block is the SEC West.
Out about that. You come out of it, you feel like you already won a championship.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to say one thing right now, and I want to preface it by saying that I love this man. He is the actual greatest wrestler in the history of New Japan Professional Wrestling. But please, please Gato, the man that books New Japan, and anybody that is listening, for the love of God, please do not let Kazuchika Okada wrestle in the G1 Climax final. Please.
Yeah.
That seems like a good place to move on to some other headlines that we are before RJ pops a blood vessel in his nostril cavity. We are going to move on to some other headlines, and RJ, we're actually going to come right back to you because the first two headlines involve that promotion that you are also fond of, and that the other two of us are growing more fond of as the day goes on. Some of that AEW action, because last week there was a debut that I argued on this show has the potential to be a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
I'll set it up with 3 words. It's Miro Day. Your thoughts?
I agree with you 100% that it's a game changer. The first thing that I'll say is that for a guy who has a very large social media presence in Miro, he is very active on the Twitter. He and his wife are very active on Instagram. He just recently started doing TikToks with her. He has a Twitch stream that he runs consistently. I With that said, those are the reasons why I am getting really sick of jaded WWE wrestlers grabbing an AEW microphone and feeling the need to say what they have to say to Vince McMahon about Miro and the glass ceiling and the grabbing for the brass ring, the imaginary brass ring, and you can shove your brass ring up your ass or whatever he said. I get it. I understand. They didn't use you correctly. You felt like you were being wasted. You felt disrespected. I get it. 100% I understand. Believe me. But you have a lot of other avenues in 2020 to let out that frustration and could have done it way before standing in front of a national television camera with an AEW microphone in your hand. I just don't think it's necessary.
I agree. Real quick, I agree, and I've been feeling that way since Brody Lee.
I liked Brody's. I liked what Brody said. Brody was. They kind of turned Brody's, the first thing he said anyway. They kind of turned Brody's into kind of a storyline deal. How Christopher Daniels didn't believe that the Exalted One existed. And then Brody Lee threw out the line of, "I'm used to out of touch old men not believing in me."
Right.
That was a spectacularly entertaining line and didn't go over the top. Miro was clearly screaming at Vince McMahon through the TV screen, and I don't need that. I don't need that as much as I don't need anything that happens in AEW. With that said, he is a guy that you can bring in and put directly on the top if you do it correctly. He is a super athlete, the way that Lana used to say it. And that is 100% a fact. That's not a gimmick. The man is chiseled. He has all the looks that you want in a guy that is a top professional wrestler, and he can go. He can go within the AEW style of professional wrestling, not sports entertainment. I always looked at Rusev as a professional wrestler, not a sports entertainer, who was being put into the mold of a sports entertainer, and I never thought that he should have been. I think it is 100% a game changer, as you said. He brings charisma and personality and another big, both figuratively and literally, person to put into the main event. You only have, when you look at AEW, and this is one criticism a lot of people have of them, that there are only so many guys that are believable top guys in AEW. And when you bring in a guy like Miro, that instantly adds another credible guy who's a top tier talent and can challenge for the top championship. While we are on the conversation of Miro, I meant to ask you this guy. I meant to ask you guys this in the pre-show and totally forgot. So I guess we're gonna do it live. I guess I'll just ask you now. Did you see what Miro said on his Twitch stream when he was asked which wrestlers in AEW that he wants to work with?
No, I did not.
Is this the one where he says there's somebody he doesn't want to work with?
Yeah.
And I didn't explore it further to see who it was, but
so he mentioned a couple of names in AEW that he does want to work with, some of the obvious names. Somebody brought up the possibility of him working with Pac, to which he replied, I will never work with Pac again. That man already hurt me once. I'm not going to give him another chance to do it again. Pac is not somebody that you will ever see me in the ring with again. He tore, I want to say, his bicep.
Yeah.
It wasn't the bicep. I don't remember what the injury was exactly. It was 100% a Pac mistake that caused Rusev to become injured on a WWE main event match, like the show main event. And he flat out said, I will never work with him again. I'm not giving him another chance to hurt.
Wow. That's very interesting.
Yeah, 100% a game changer. I agree. There are
one thing really quick I said last week on the show, and I want to see if you agree with this. I think, and while I agree that you could put him in the main, the world, the AEW World Championship picture right away, I argued that by the end of the year he's your TNT champion and he takes out Brody Lee, because I would love to see those two go at it.
Yeah,
I wouldn't do that.
You start, we're fond of the term escalation on this show. I mean, he's got a middle tier title to go after, and he could use that to whet his appetite. And then early next year, spring, early summer, maybe he's your AEW World Champion. He takes it off of whomever, takes it off of Moxley, takes it off of MJF as a babyface or whatever you want to do.
I have a little funny story. It's real quick about Rusev when he was moved from NXT to the main roster. He came out when he was first introduced, he came out as the Bulgarian Brute, Alexander Rusev, and Lana had the Russian accent and the Bulgarian accent. I guess you could call it the Bulgarian accent at first. And he was announced from Bulgaria. And at the time, NXT wasn't what it is now. So I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to the developmental talent at the Performance Center. So I didn't really know who this guy was. And he was brought onto the TV as the Bulgarian Brute Rusev. And I immediately turned to my wife and said, within a month, he'll be Russian. Just because that's how professional wrestling works.
Yeah.
And she laughed and chuckled, and I said, I'm 100% serious. And then he was. So that's my funny Rusev story, that I called Vince making him be Russian way before it ever happened.
Right. And honestly, truly, I think part of that was mainly because of Lana, CJ, whatever you want to call her. But the fact that she was born in Latvia, Lithuania.
I think Latvia. I think that's right.
Right. Because her parents were missionaries. And yeah. So yeah, she's fluent in Russian.
Did you see what she said on Twitch about the tank that they came out at WrestleMania?
No.
They had sex in it.
To Lana and Miro, ladies and gentlemen.
They saw an opportunity and they took it.
Great.
You don't get many opportunities in your life to have sex in a tank.
I don't blame them.
Anyway, moving right along before we get kicked off the air, there's two more developments going on in AEW that I want to get the gentlemen's takes on. And I'm springing one of these on them. They know about one. They don't know about the other one. Well, I'm sure they know about it, but they didn't know that I wanted to talk about it. The first little piece of business involves maybe 27 of those figurines that are so prominently displayed behind the AEW Assassin, because there is a turn and a turn and a turnabout going on with two gentlemen from Rancho Cucamonga, California. I just love saying that. Now that I know that's where they're from, I just love saying it.
Real quick, the reason you love saying it, you do realize. Remember how, like, on the Letterman show, the top 10 would always come from a home office in whatever city. Audibly Offensive Radio, our old podcast that Brian and I and Chris Lemke and Chris Lundy and all those idiots that we love so much used to do.
Shout out.
Our mailbag that we had was always from the home office in Rancho Cucamonga, California.
Why. Yes.
That's awesome.
We never went to another city. Chris Lemke came up with that. And I was like, we need a city, like a home office city, just one, like a Truth or Consequences, New Mexico or something like that. And he just goes, Rancho Cucamonga, California. I'm like, nice. So the very first time he said, from our home office in Rancho Cucamonga, California.
That's absolutely phenomenal.
So what is going on with the lads, Nick and Matt? Do they just think it's time? Or is this the way they feel they can achieve their goals, is by becoming a bit more nefarious and stuff?
You know, that's one of the, I'm so flabbergasted is the word that comes to my mind, but I'm not flabbergasted. Perplexed is yes, probably perplexed. The Young Bucks that I fell in love with in Bullet Club were heels. They were with Kenny Omega, they created the Elite as heels. They used cold spray, more so Kenny used cold spray to spray in the eyes, and they cheated, and they were always at ringside with each other, and they are phenomenal heels. What has me perplexed is two things. One, I understand the last week when Alex Marvez went to their locker room for the interview and they opened the door, double super kicked him, Matt gave a grimace, and then they closed the door. I get that. 100% I get that. I do not understand the randomly double kicking a random referee at all. I don't get it. I don't understand why they did it. It doesn't. Heel heat is the easy answer to further the heel turn, but it doesn't. Like, who gives a shit if you super kick a ref? Like,
here's my thing on it. Okay, yes, heel heat. We get that. We study heel 401 here on Wrestling with Egos. But here's a problem. Heel heat only works if it makes sense. And just like the Chewbacca defense from South Park, this does not make sense.
That's what I'm saying. What happens? Like, what is wrong with having scheduling a singles match on Dynamite for some random, let's say Brian Pillman Jr., because he's the first guy I thought of. One of these random independent AEW dark wrestlers. You schedule a one-on-one match on Dynamite. You make it Flying Brian Pillman Jr. versus Orange Cassidy or Darby Allin. And the Young Bucks come out to ringside. What are the Young Bucks here for? Oh my gosh, what's happening? The Young Bucks slide in the ring and super kick everybody's favorite wrestler, Orange Cassidy. That makes a lot more sense as getting heel heat than super kicking a random ref nobody gives a shit about.
Right.
Or an interviewer.
Or it would even make more sense to me if out of nowhere, the Young Bucks slid into the ring and super kicked Justin Roberts in the middle of a ring announcement. John! And he gets super kicked. Like, that makes so much more sense than super kicking a random referee. I don't understand it.
Right.
I don't get that. The heel turn itself makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
They are spectacular heels when they do it. As far as when it comes to the Young Bucks, it makes a lot of sense for me. When it comes to the tag team division as a whole, I look at the tag team division as a whole, and I don't see a whole lot of relevant babyface teams. I see the Dark Order and the 4 separate tag teams that are within the Dark Order that are all heels. I see FTR, who has the championships. I see Proud and Powerful. I see Jericho and Hager that say that they're going for the tag titles now. I don't see a whole lot of credible babyface tag team talent, and it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me that you're going to take your biggest team and turn them heel. While they're going to be fantastic at it, there aren't a lot of babyface teams. I don't know why you're doing it.
Your top babyface tag team is Best Friends.
For sure.
Your second, your number 2 babyface tag team in AEW is Private Party. After that, I think you're looking at Austin and Billy Gunn.
Lucha Express. That's what I was going to. Jurassic Express, I mean.
Yeah. Jurassic Express is 2, and then.
But then, right. But then after them, it might be Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, as fun as that is, and as well as that is working,
that don't put asses in seats.
It's right. For that to be your 4th best babyface tag team doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I just don't see, like,
especially when you're talking about a deep as hell tag team division that AEW's got.
With heel champions.
Yes.
Like, you don't have a whole lot of credible babyface title contenders.
No, you do not.
Well, gentlemen, there's another tag team that we need to talk about too. And this is a little bit more troubling to me. What's going on with the Lucha Bros?
I don't know, man.
Another heel tag team.
Yeah, another heel tag team. Here's my thing. I kind of feel right now, and I have felt like this for a long time with the Lucha Brothers, they have been absolutely directionless for, I would maybe say, since December, January, somewhere around there, when Death Triangle first formed. It's been completely directionless for these guys because, and COVID has a lot to do with that. I totally get it, but let's eliminate COVID from the equation for just a second. You have Death Triangle. Something happened, and now that's not the case, mainly because Pac is stuck over in England because travel restrictions. Now you're putting the Lucha Brothers alongside Butcher and Blade and Eddie Kingston as their mouthpiece. Now, don't get me wrong, I can listen to Eddie Kingston cut a promo all freaking day long. He is amazing at it. But those 5 guys together, especially when Eddie Kingston has to come to the ring every stinking week, Eddie Kingston coming to the ring to stop one guy from kicking the hell out of another guy is starting to become the new. Did you know Cody can't challenge for the AEW title trope?
That's very true.
There is a dentist trope. That's what it's becoming. Like, all right, here comes Eddie Kingston in 3, 2. Whoa, 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 whoa! Stop!
Did you also know that the apron is the hardest part of the ring?
No, I heard that somewhere before.
Oh my goodness.
I have 2 fun things to say about Eddie Kingston. 1, Eddie Kingston still hasn't been eliminated from the Casino Battle Royale. And 2, the reason he's in AEW is his mom. Have you guys heard this story?
No.
So remember when he first showed up on AEW television and he wrestled Cody for the TNT Championship?
Yes.
They had that banger of a match.
Oh God, yeah.
The next day, he got a phone call and contract offer from WWE. The following day after that match, he got a phone call and a legitimate contract offer from the WWE. He went to his mom's house to discuss it with his mom. His mom straight up told him, "You are not allowed to sign with WWE. I won't let you. You will not be happy there. They will use you for 3 weeks and then throw you on the back burner. They will not use you correctly. I'm not going to let my son go somewhere where he will be unhappy." And Eddie Kingston replied to his mother, "Well, then I'm going to AEW." And she said, "Good." And that's how he ended up in AEW.
Go ahead, Mom.
His mom forbid him from going to WWE.
So another headline that we probably should talk about too from AEW is, even though we don't like the guy very much, and that could be a whole show about why we don't like this guy that gives out stars. There was a street fight on Wednesday that actually had long-term storytelling involved in it, which I think was awesome, involving Proud and Powerful, Santana and Ortiz, and Best Friends. And Mr. Meltzer gave this match 5 stars, which is rare for a street fight.
Yeah.
It's rare for any kind of a gimmick match, as far as I know.
Well,
it's the first 5-star rated match in the COVID era.
Huh.
Which is also scary. But here's the thing: street fights, falls count anywhere type matches, that kind of stuff, those generally aren't as enjoyable because you can't bump as hard as you would if you have a ring. The ring is what makes it fun, because now you've got the safety question mark of the ring. And for those of you that have ever taken a bump inside of a wrestling ring, I've taken one. It ain't really that comfy. It's not like they break the egg on a trampoline. Guys usually aren't as freewheeling in a street fight, but dang it, these guys straight up went for it. What's the damn move that Trent does that he did on the back of the truck?
I don't remember what it's called.
Didn't like in WWE he call it the Dude Buster?
Well, that was the name of the tag team. So then, he was in the Dude Busters in WWE. So when he left, that's what he called that move. I don't know that he does anymore.
Okay. Well, we're gonna call it that for right now. Anyway, he hits that. I was like, oh my god. One thing I'm finding very interesting about AEW as a whole. Any of the ring matches, they are doing a freaking genius job of telling these stories. The Mimosa Mayhem, the Stadium Stampede, even though it was kind of hard to watch at the very end, that Sammy Guevara Matt Hardy match. RJ, don't. We went there last week. Just trust me. I wasn't, let's put it this way, of the two of us, I wasn't the most pissed off. It was Brian. I was waiting for Brian to swear. I think he actually did.
Reby Hardy
I can't remember, but we won't rehash that.
We will not. We're not ever. This will be the last time we ever discuss that match on this show. But I love the way they tell these stories because they do such a damn good job of it. So it doesn't surprise me at all that this was a 5-star match from Meltzer. Because Santana and Ortiz, I think, are one of the most underrated tag teams on the planet. I am really becoming a huge fan of Best Friends. I think these guys are great. Um, so
There's
one more thing I want to add, and the inclusion of Trent's mom has
oh
been
God.
absolutely. Sue is a fucking rock star. Especially the guys getting back in the van after the match. They starting to roll out, and she just drops the
Oh,
middle. I was like, oh,
that was that was amazing. The villain in training, Logan, who everybody saw in Golfing with Egos, thought that he about fell out of his chair. He laughed so hard when she threw up that middle finger. That was amazing. There's two things that I have to mention about that match. One is me kind of making fun of something they did, and the other one is giving props to somebody.
uh,
Um,
hey,
the
hey,
one,
give props first. Save the making fun of for last.
well, the making fun of is faster, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to do the making fun of first because it's one quick comment, and then I'm moving on.
Okay,
Um, Santana hid the baton in the wheel well of the car. You noticed he went in the wheel well of the car and pulled the baton out?
right.
He was wearing pants that had pockets. Um, anyway, um, the props I have to give are to Trent, formerly known as Trent Beretta, um, because that man is probably still picking glass out of his back.
Oh God, yes.
That bump on the windshield of that car is one of the ballsiest bumps I have ever seen someone take because there was no chance that windshield didn't break. And whether it's fake glass or real glass or sugar glass, I don't care what it is. That man is still picking glass out of his back. There's no way he's not. You could see how much pain he was in for the entire rest of the match. And even at the end, when Chuck Taylor gave him a hug and patted him on the back, I'm like, oh my God. And he like
Yeah.
immediately pulled away and turned his body like he tried to get him to stop. He's probably, even when he got in the van, I'm like, don't sit in the seat. Don't sit in the seat. And he sits in the seat and puts his back up against the back of the seat. I'm like, oh my God. Like, it just, mad props to Trent. I don't know that I would ever have the balls to do that.
Oh hell no. Hell no. Uh, any other headline worthy topics?
No, I actually think it's time to go swimming. It's time for some of that deep dive action.
Actually, no, we're not. And here's why. Because it is currently Monday morning, about 10:30 Eastern, and I'm currently editing the show right now and realize that our deep dive goes on another hour. Another hour, boys and girls. And my wife always thinks that I'm being a jackass by making you guys watch an hour-long episode of Wrestling with Egos. And this would be a 2-hour-long episode. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to wrap the show up right now, send you guys on your merry way, and then you will be seeing the deep dive of Starrcade 1997 coming up on a bonus content episode, which, yes, will go an hour. You're welcome. Trust me, it's actually great, but we don't want you to get bored watching both things at the same time. So, you can sparse all this stuff out. Why? Because we like you guys, and we don't want to bore you, and we want more subscribers. So, remember, like, subscribe, share. You guys saw the social media stuff at the beginning of the show. bkrego15 at RJ Eman, rant mode on for your boy. Don't forget, check out our Google repository, bit.ly/withegos. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, click the bell for the notifications, leave a comment below because you want to. And again, remember, September is National Suicide Prevention Month. You saw our mini PSA at the very beginning of the show. If you're having issues, please reach out. Reach out to us. Reach out to anybody. Seek professional help. Whatever you got to do. Because especially in times like this, we are all in this bullcrap together, guys. So just wanted to, on behalf of RJ and Brian, wanted to say we love you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us here on Wrestling with Egos. we'll see you guys. I'm going back into the house to do the deep dive before I have to go to work tonight. So until next time, when I actually sign off for real, that's our story, and we're sticking to it.